Hey everybody, and welcome to October's edition of Board Game Buys. So in this series I talk about all of the games that I have acquired into my collection over the last 30 days or so. Now I have quite an interesting bunch of games here because I've got really new games, I've got some reacquisitions, I've got some Kickstarter games and even some review copies. So before I get started on the games, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer, and if you use the link in my show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. But let's get started on a brand new release. This is Dragon Keepers by Michael Menzel. Now I actually took a bit of a punt on this one. I heard some reasonably good things about it. Michael Menzel is a guy who generally interests me because he kind of brings back some nostalgia, I suppose, because he made a lot of games or did a lot of the artwork for some older Euros that I enjoy. But this is a very simplistic card game. I'm not going to go too far into the details here because I have played this and I'm quite keen to share my thoughts on it. So hopefully I'm going to review this one very shortly and get my thoughts out there because this one kind of came from nowhere for me. So that is Dragon Keepers. I've already reviewed Forever Home, so this was very kindly passed on to me for review by the publisher here, and I reviewed this one quite favourably indeed. So this is a very simple kind of family weight puzzly game, very abstract in its nature, as you are puzzling out these little dog tokens to try and reach these patterns, and then you can send dogs from these patterns to different kind of scoring categories. Again, lovely artwork here. Extremely fast game, you're talking about 20 minutes to play this one, and check out my review if you are interested in this one. So that is Forever Home. Another game I've already reviewed and a brand new one. This is Forest Shuffle by Lookout Games. So this one is a ton of set collection in a box. You are building up your little forest by placing these trees out and tucking all these other cards behind those trees to score you points in tons of different ways. It has a multi-use card system because in order to play a card, you have to discard other cards from your hand. And I really like that kind of sacrifice you need to do in order to play things. Again, check out my review of this one because it is uploaded. It's no spoiler to say I love this game. I think it is fantastic. I did get some comments on my videos from quite notable characters like Luke from The Broken Meeple saying he thinks this game is really imbalanced and he's not too keen on it. I'm not seeing it. I really love this game and I've played it a few times now and I think the balance is fine. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe the games that I've had haven't really played out in an obvious way, but I've got no issue with this one at all, and I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it's going to do well on my ratings on my rankings this year. So that is Forest Shuffle. It's time for a reacquisition. So if you watched a recent edition of Board Games I Got Rid Of and Why, you might know, or you might have noticed that First Racked was actually featured on that video. And as I was talking about it, I was thinking, I really did like this game. Maybe I shouldn't have got rid of it. And I've kind of gone back on myself and reacquired it because I think this game is really cool and I did start to miss it quite a lot. So another game I have already reviewed on the channel quite some time ago. And it's a really interesting one as you are climbing up this track with your rats, collecting little resources as you go, trading them in for points, buying upgrades from the shops, racing to do a bunch of different things to get the most points. It really strikes quite a fine balance between being accessible but having quite a bit going on, and I really do think it struck a perfect chord for the kind of games that I'm looking for my collection right now. So you can see this is still in shrink, so I've not played it again since reacquiring it. I'm not sure how long it will be until I get it, but I'm actually really happy I've got this one back in my ownership because it is a really fantastic game. That is First Rat. On to another brand new release now. This is Wild Tiled West. So a polyomino game by Paul Dennen, actually. So Paul Dennen, you might recognise that name through designing Dune Imperium, of all things. Dune Imperium, game I actually quite enjoyed, much better than I thought it was going to be, despite not being my cup of tea, really. But nonetheless, a very well designed game. But this one is a polyomino game, so I'm not exactly itching to play tons of polyomino games because it's been done to death really. But this one intrigued me because it has kind of a game going on top of the polyomino. So not only are you trying to fill up your board, getting bonuses and things, but the actual tiles themselves have different scoring categories, such as you're trying to wrangle these cows, you're trying to fight off these bandits by placing these sheriffs down, you've got secret objectives, and you're trying to collect sets of these ace cards. So yeah, it's quite a cool mix of, the abstract nature of a polyomino tile placement game with some thematic ties there in a nice family weight package. And I have played this one. I will be reviewing it very shortly. That is Wild Tiled West. On to something completely different now. So this one I'm sure you probably haven't heard of. This is Crime Wave, California. So this one is going to be an upcoming Kickstarter. The copy here very kindly passed on to me by the publisher, Dull Boy Games. I've tasked someone to learn this one on my behalf, and they did find some rules issues, and quite reassuringly, I suppose, the publisher did contact me before I contacted them, saying, look, we found some issues with the rulebook. Hold tight on this one. We just want to make sure the rules are right before you put any content out there. So I've not played this one yet. I'm probably not going to play it for some time until I get that final rules clarity on how to play the game correctly. But it's a kind of murder mystery style game. I think it has a degree of hidden movement on it, as these murders are taking place in California. I think some people are playing the murderers, some people are playing the police. And you're just trying to solve out who it could be by collecting clues, etc. I really love the visuals of this game. It has this kind of Silver Age Marvel Comics look, which I really like. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be good. Again, I don't know yet because I've not learnt the rules at all, and I'm still waiting for that final clarity before I get it played. But just to raise some awareness that if this game appeals to you, you know that it's on the horizon. So that is Crime Wave, California. Also picked up, or I finally got a pre-order of Pocket Master Builder. So this is, again, you can see a very small box, little city building game. I have tried to play this one, and it's probably going to be the end of my conquest with this one because the rules in this game are absolutely horrendous. I could barely get it played, and it was just a fiddly mess, to be honest. So I'm not quite sure how much more content I will cover on Pocket Master Builder, just to say that the rulebook is absolutely horrible, and probably to avoid it at all costs. So that is Pocket Master Builder, one that I was quietly optimistic for, but I don't think it's ever going to hit the table again because of those rules issues. So that is Pocket Master Builder. Another Kickstarter, preview copy, I suppose, a review copy for an upcoming Kickstarter called Paragon's Age of Champions. So this is a kind of a Magic the Gathering variant, as you're dueling wizards, playing these monsters and things against each other. But the kind of USP about this game is that it is self-contained. Everything you have is in the box here. You have 3 different kind of categories of characters you can play, like a ranger character, a mage, and the standard warrior. You've got this kind of fantasy tropes. And then you are spending the first half of the game before the game even starts, you're drafting all the cards that you want. And then you are going to just duel off against each other. It has this kind of row system where the positioning of your characters is important because you can block each other, etc. Now, I'm not generally a fan of these styles of games. A big part of that is because a lot of them are pay to play, as the aforementioned Magic the Gathering. This one, I think, again, a bit like Pocket Master Builder, the rules weren't great because you get this kind of leaflet in the box, and you have to follow this link to get the whole rules. I'd rather just have the rules in the box themselves. And I was past, I think, the wrong game mats with this one, so it made some of the housekeeping a bit more of an issue. I'm not quite sure if it's going to be the game for me, really. It's not my jam. I did say that to the publisher, saying, I do like more Euro style games, more mechanically sound games, but they thought I'd like this one because it is self-contained. I'm not sure if it's going to land. I might give it another chance if I get those new game mats that apparently make the housekeeping a bit more easy to manage. So that is Paragon's Age of Champions. Well, recently fulfilled Kickstarter that my brother backed, actually. I didn't know anything about this game. This is Dawn. So Dawn comes in this very nice little box here. I believe this is like a semi-cooperative tile placement game as you're building up this little village. I think there's some degree of a kind of traitor element or different winning conditions where you can either work completely cooperatively, or you can have this kind of saboteur character who can try and win on their own. Now, I've not played this yet. These games do have the potential to be hits or misses depending on the kind of game group. So, you know, we shall reserve our opinions until we get it played with the right group, of course. But I do like the little package here. The artwork looks different. You know, 45 minutes sounds fair. 2 to 5 players. We shall see. So really don't know much about this one at all, as it was not backed by myself. It was backed by my brother. So that is Dawn. A pre-order that finally arrived is The Rich and the Good. So this is a game I've been after for a long time, and they reprinted it last year. Ares Games did, at least, but it's been quite difficult to get hold of in the UK. But this is a fairly minimalistic kind of stock market style game, as you are trying to basically buy low, sell high. You have these different commodities on the board that go up and down, but you as the players are controlling that market by playing these cards. And these cards kind of have this between two cities mechanism where you and your neighbour can see each rack, but you cannot obviously see the ones opposite you. And you are using these cards to manipulate those stock markets with a fair degree of knowledge about the strength of those stocks. But of course you don't know the complete picture because some of those stocks are facing away from you. Mechanically, this game could not be more simple. Again, I have played this one. I will hold my thoughts off until my review, and I look forward to sharing that with you. So that is The Rich and the Good, finally arrived after such a long wait. Just a few more now. So I picked up a copy of Big Boss. So Big Boss is actually kind of Wolfgang Kramer's version of Acquire. At least that's what I've heard. This one is still sealed. It's not been opened yet, so I don't know the rules yet. But I'm always keen to try Wolfgang Kramer games. I am quite a fan of Acquire, but I do have some trouble getting it to the table because it does kind of flourish at higher player counts. I'm hoping this one can bridge that gap a bit better and be a better game at 3 players, which is what I normally play with. But again, Wolfgang Kramer is a designer I respect so much, and you know, some people seem to fall on the camp of liking all the changes that Big Boss makes to Acquire, or some you've got those more traditionalist players who think the original is the best one. But you know, always like a simple economic game, and Big Boss might again fit in my collection to fill that void. So that is Big Boss. On to probably the heaviest hitter of the lot. This is Zoo Tycoon. So Zoo Tycoon, you know, transparency, was passed on to me by the publisher. Now, I'm not sure if I should have accepted because this game is super heavy. At least reading the rules, they're quite daunting. I have shied away from heavier games recently, as you might have noticed on the channel. But this is, of course, based on the Zoo Tycoon computer game. You're trying to build your own zoo and make it as good as possible, I suppose, by balancing the kind of the welfare of the animals with the commercialization, I suppose. Tons of meeples here, tons of different cool different components, but again, I'm going to struggle to get this played. I think it's going to be at least a 2-hour game. I think the rating on BGG is like 4 out of 5. Lots of fiddly rules minutiae, which are all kind of red flags for me. So will I get this played? I'm not quite sure I will, at least not anytime soon. But I want to get it done, but I just don't want to learn the rules myself, and I'd rather have someone teach them to me. But hey, maybe that's my fault for accepting the review copy. So that is Zoo Tycoon. Just a couple more now. So my brother picked up a copy of Kenjin. So this is a game I knew nothing about at all. This is kind of a secret role style game where you have all these different character cards. You're deploying them to these different battlefields, and you are essentially trying to compete for majorities by having the strongest army there. But all the different characters or the different soldiers in the army have this kind of paper rock scissors mechanism where they all conflict with each other and will trigger in different ways to nullify each other's powers. So it's kind of a bluffing, getting into the head of your opponent style game. Again, I'm not sure if I'll do a full review of this one. It'll probably be a part of of the compilation. But there is a game here. I think it's going to be one of those games that would reward you playing time and time again, so you get more familiar with the characters. But we shall see. I'll probably play it a few more times to see if it does start to gel, because it's not too heavy. There's some variability here, or variability, with these different kind of fields that you're competing over. But that is Kenjin. I knew nothing about this one until it ended up on my shelf. That is Kenjin. And the final game I'm talking about today is Wizards of the Grimoire. Now, this is the newest version with the newest expansion, which I think is called the Sands of Time. So this whole new deck of cards that come with with all the base stuff. And I think there's like artifact cards which work slightly differently. So I'm really quite keen to dig into these, see how much they change the gameplay. If you don't know about Wizards of the Grimoire, it's a fantastic little self-contained dueling style game. But if you don't like dueling style games, which generally I don't, I think you might like this one, because it's very balanced. Some might say overly balanced, because it doesn't have those huge moments, those huge highs and lows. It's a very meticulous style game as you're chipping away at your opponent, trying to most efficiently play through these bunch of cards. It's a very clever game that I was very impressed with, and it's probably one of the best two-player games I've played in some time, actually. So it's a very well designed and well polished game. So excited to see what that new expansion material adds, and hopefully I'll get a video of that one out soon as I dive through those cards. So that is Wizards of the Grimoire with the Sands of Time expansion, and the box actually looks exactly the same as the original, so I'm not sure if this is a prototype copy or not. We shall see. So that's it really. That's all the games that I have acquired, way more than I was anticipating to, but I have been culling quite a few games as well, and I'm trying to get games into my collection that I know I'm going to get played. So hopefully you have enjoyed the video. Let me know which games here appeal to you the most and what you're looking forward to seeing. And if you have enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel, and check out my other content too. But for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye bye.